worship is not trying to be seen. True worship is intimately personal with God. It's okay to be seen worshiping, but make sure we're sincere in our worship with God. Some people come to worship to be seen. But I come to worship because it's personal with God. And when we begin to understand the difference of worship being personal with God, when we create that relationship with God sincerely in our hearts, serving God takes on a new dimension. No one has to ask you to come or beg you to come or prime you when you get here. You come in because you're coming because of the relationship. You're coming because there's an yearning and yearning in your heart to be with God. See, I don't know about you, but I enjoy my personal relationship with God. I enjoy talking to Him and listening to Him talk to me. Now, preacher, how can you hear Him talk to you? All I got to do is pick up His Word and begin to read it aloud, and that's Him talking to me. Anytime I want to hear God talk to me, all I got to do is grab His Word and begin to read it out loud, and that's God talking to me. But now, on a personal note, sometimes I ain't got to read out loud. I don't even have to have my Bible. When I begin to think about the goodness of Him, He begin to speak through the Spirit to my heart. And y'all, it don't get much better than that. When you can have God speak to you in your heart. I'm talking about true worship from the heart. When we begin to allow God relationship in our lives to become personal with us, life is so much sweeter. Now, preacher, explain to me what you're talking about. When we become serious with God, serious enough to allow our coming to church, serious enough to allow our reading the Bible to become personal with us, with God, we can develop a personal relationship that supersedes anything that we can comprehend. When we allow the Word of God to become a living relationship with our life, allowing the Word of God to become a living relationship of influence and enforcement to our daily lives. When we begin to realize this Word is so personal to me, this Word becomes my main squeeze, if you please. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Years ago, we had a saying when I was a little younger, we talk about our main squeeze. I'm okay. Don't throw me away. But when God becomes our main attraction of life, it becomes real personal. See, He's my main squeeze, if you please. What I'm simply saying is God is my main source of life in my relationship. I've got a very foxy lady over here as my wife, but she wouldn't get the treatment she get if Jesus Christ wasn't my first main squeeze. Because Jesus Christ is first in my life, I know how to treat her. I know how to let her be my queen that she is. Because Jesus Christ, in my relationship with the Father, is first in my life. I'm talking about true worship from the heart. Unless you let God become first and foremost, the rest of your life can never properly be in place. I'm talking worship now when your life is in the proper order that God ordained it to be.
Yes. Amen.
When we allow God to be first in our life, then the rest of our life can line up properly.
Amen.
But until we understand what it meant when he said he seeks true worshipers. See, only true worshipers can have their life aligned right with God. If you're not a true worshiper, your life is not aligned right with God. We must understand that the Father seeks such to worship him. When we get our lives in order with God, and in alignment with God, and he's first, the things around us have to get in order. See, I don't worry about tomorrow. I'm not worried about somebody on a job site or somebody, because I understand if I worship God and keep my relationship,
Yes, Jesus.
no one can hinder me from flowing in the ship. Why? Because my personal relationship with God controls every aspect of the rest of my life.
Amen.
That's why you hear me sometimes say, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid of the darkness of life because I have a personal relationship with the light of the world. I'm not afraid of the darkness of men because I have a personal relationship with the light of my pathway. That darkness can no longer hinder me from seeing where to step because he is the light of my path. That's why I'm grateful of my personal relationship with God. Because I'm never in darkness now, not knowing which way to turn.
Jesus.
Because in your personal relationship with God, he's always lighting up the pathway to go. Oh, y'all, it's like that plane coming in at night, trying to make a landing at the airport. And if you're on a plane that's coming to land, you see the runway is lighted all the way down. Why? Because they got a pathway lit up for the pilot to see how to land. That's how God is. When you let him have that personal relationship, whenever you need to land, whenever you take off, he's a light pathway to take. It's never in darkness. So if you this morning, or you this afternoon, or you listening at this message, and you are undecided about some things, you need to get your relationship right with the light of God. Because the light of God will show you the direction of every turn you need to make in your life. That's why he said, acknowledge him in all of our ways, and he will direct our path. We have to learn how to have that personal relationship. True worship from the heart. That God will be our light pathway. That we'll no longer have to turn in the darkness. No longer have to wonder which way to take. The word is the lighted pathway. Let the word light your pathway. Let the word of God light where you should go. Let the word of God light your direction of the will of God. It's so simple. Just follow the light pathway and be a true worshiper from the heart and the will of God. I won't quit. I'm not finished. But I shall come again. But remember, true worship from the heart is personal with God. Let us stand. Thank you, Jesus. This morning, praise the Lord. We thank God to be back one more time with you. And there is a word from the Lord this morning on this Father's Day. We thank God for sparing our life to be back one more time. And You'll find me this morning in the book of St. Luke, the 13th chapter, 10th through the 17th verse. And I'm going to read it and move right along this morning. We shall not be long if God say the same. St. Luke 13 and 10. And it says, and he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath day. And behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bound together, and could in no wise lift up herself. And when Jesus saw her, he called her to him, and said unto her, Woman, thou art loose from thy infirmity. And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight, and glorified God. And the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation, because that Jesus had healed on the Sabbath day, and said unto the people, there are 6 days in which men ought to work, and in them therefore come and be healed, and not on the Sabbath day. The Lord then answered him and said, Thou hypocrite, doeth not even one of you, each one of you, on the Sabbath loose his ass, his ox and his ass from the stall, and lead him away to watering? And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan had bound, lo, these 18 years be loosed from her bound on the Sabbath day? And when he had said these things, all his adversaries were ashamed, and all the people rejoiced for all the glorious things that were done by him. This story tells of Jesus as he ministered to the people in the synagogue on a Sabbath day. And there was a woman in the crowd that had an infirmity for 18 years. Jesus always had compassion on the people of the Lord. This morning, someone here may be bound with infirmity, not as this woman, but infirmity of hard times, an infirmity of misunderstanding, an infirmity of undecision, an infirmity of sickness otherwise. But in this story, Jesus had compassion on the woman. And the thing about this is that Jesus is here this morning.
Oh, yes.
And he has compassion on each of us in our various situations and conditions. But this morning, as we look at the outset of the story, and he was on the Sabbath day, and today is Sunday, which we represent for our Sabbath.